Hi everyone, I'm Ashley. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you my favorite books that I read this summer. I rated each of these books 5 stars and I would highly recommend them all. And even though I read them during the summer, they can be read at any time of the year, doesn't matter. So without further ado, let's hop on in. All right, these first 2 books are part of the Mark of the Lion series by Francine Rivers. So the first one is called A Voice in the Wind, and then the second one is An Echo in the Darkness. And there's a third book in this series also, but I have not read that one. These 2 books are a big part of the reason why I disappeared from YouTube for a couple of months, because they took me a couple of months to read. I only read physical books, and so if I would have done audiobooks, I'm sure I could have gotten through them a lot faster, but it just took some time. They're kind of deeper, heavier books, and I didn't want to rush my way through them just to get them done. I wanted to take my time and really get everything out of them that I could. I know that these books have been around for a while and you've probably heard other people talk about them, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but I am very, very happy I read these books. They really helped kind of put life back into perspective for me. So the first book, A Voice in the Wind, was set 70 years after Jesus' death during the Jewish-Roman War. So this was a very divided, violent, dangerous time in history. The main character, Hadassah, went from, at the beginning of the book, being very timid in her faith, and she started at the beginning of the book, she was fairly young. I don't remember, she was maybe around 12 or so, but she ended up losing her entire family. She watched some of her family members die right in front of her eyes, and she was left with nothing but her faith. And so Jesus became all that she had, and her faith really grew from that point forward. And this book just helped put life into perspective for me. You know, the things that matter in life, the things that we take for granted every day, that these people didn't have. The freedom to pray, the freedom to practice our religion is a gift. Not everybody in history has been able to do that. So it was a really good reminder of that, and just to helped me be more grateful for everything that I have in life, which is so much, especially when compared to these people. I feel like Hadassah's story is one that we hear over and over again in the Bible and in life, of people just coming to the ends of themselves, having nothing left, and just finding that Jesus is the only thing that we really need in this life. And she was faced with many choices on a daily basis where she could have turned towards God or away from him, and she continually chose to turn towards God and embrace him, and he refined her and blessed her and people around her through that. And it was just a very, very powerful story. There is a romance interest in this book. She ends up meeting the son of a Roman who she is serving, and his name is Marcus, and he does not believe in God. He's very worldly and into the Roman culture and obsessed with money and power. And Hadassah is just a servant-hearted, loving person, and he is normally not drawn to that type of girl, but he is, and he just can't explain why. And she's drawn to him too, but she knows that he is off limits. And so it's a really, really good story all the way around, and I highly recommend it. I do want to mention the one problem that I had, which this is a personal problem, but I know there are probably others out there like me. I have a very weak stomach, and the times that these books were set in were violent, and Francine does describe some things with the Colosseum, the Roman Colosseum, and just the gruesomeness that took place back then. I mean, the Romans found killing Christians to be entertainment. So it does go into some of that. And so if you have a weak stomach like me, I'm just throwing it out there. There is some more graphic content, but I think that you really do need that to get a grasp of what was going on during these times and just how crazy everything was. So I did want to throw that out there, because that was another part of the reason it took me so long to get through these books. But I personally feel like it was well worth all of that. So yeah. The next book I read was Waymaker by Ann Voskamp. And this is a Christian nonfiction book. Anne talks about different life experiences she's had where she has seen God show up in her life and be a way maker, make a way when there wasn't any way previously. And I thought she did a really nice job. The writing is a little bit different. It's more of a poetic style of writing, I would say. I wrote down a few of my favorite quotes from the book, and so I thought I'd share those with you. You can get kind of a better idea of how it's written. She said, "Life is never made unbearable by the road itself, but by the way we bear the road. It's not the hard roads that slay us. What actually slays us is the expectation that this road isn't what we'd hoped it would be. The only way to fulfill God's will is to fully let go of your own will. Until there's a release and a turning from your way, there is no going God's way. How can we ever be conformed to the image of our suffering Savior if we never suffered? When you can't see your way through, move closer to the light. If we don't set apart time with God, can we expect to see the way God is parting waves? Unless we're poring over his ways more than we're poring over any other informational streams, are we truly wanting God to make a way?" So every single one of those quotes is hard hitting. So this book took me quite a few months to go through, because I just wanted to soak in everything that she was saying. Like, there was so many good quotes like that. I think I still have all of my tabs on there. So I highly recommend this book. Next I have Live and Love by Lauren Atkins. This is a memoir, and I know this won't be for everybody, but I'm a big country music fan, and Lauren is Thomas Rhett's wife. And so I've been a big fan of Thomas Rhett's music for a long time, and this book actually came out in 2020, I want to say. My sister-in-law gave it to me as a gift a few years ago, and I just hadn't gotten around to reading it until now, but it was really good. Lauren goes back to both of their childhoods. She talks about when they met in 3rd grade when he moved to her neighborhood, and how they didn't start dating until they were in high school, and how their love story took off from there. But she goes into depth about both of their childhoods and their faith, and then once they were married, she talks about their adoption, the whole process of how all of that went down, which I knew that they had adopted, but to hear their story and how much of a struggle it was to go through that process was really eye-opening. She also shares some stories about Thomas Rhett's career that I found super interesting, and I walked away from this book a bigger fan of both of them. The next book is My Unexpected Hope by Tammy L. Gray, and this is the second book in the series. The first one is My Unexpected Hope, and I read that earlier in the year and also rated it 5 stars. This is contemporary Christian fiction, I would say, and it is a second chance romance. So Layla Richardson is the female main character in this book, and she is healing from a divorce from her husband Chad, who is a drug and alcohol addict, and she has started to move on with her life. She started dating someone else, somebody who's dependable and always there for her and kind of leading her to faith. And we also hear Chad, her ex-husband's perspective, where he's been in rehab for several months and he has never given up on Layla. He has always had it in his head that he's working to better himself to eventually go back to her. and he catches word that she has found someone else. So he packs up his bags and heads back home. And the story takes off from there. I don't want to spoil anything, but I absolutely loved this. I thought Tammy did an excellent job of telling their story and weaving faith content into this. There's very real difficulties that both of them are struggling with and have to work through, and I just thought it was really well done. Next up is A Cross Country Wedding by Courtney Walsh, and this is the second book in a series. You can read it as a standalone, but I recommend reading the first one first. The first one is a Christmas book, but really that Christmas one could be read at any time too. This is a friends to lovers story. So we follow longtime best friends Simon and Maddie as they are traveling across the country alone together in a car. And Simon has had a crush on Maddie for many years, and she is completely oblivious to him. She normally does not go for guys like him, which his type is, he's nice and caring and respectful. And she just normally doesn't go for that type of guy. She has very short-lasting relationships, and Simon is always there to pick her up after a breakup. And so anyway, they're stuck in a car together, and Simon sees this as his probably last opportunity to let his feelings be known to her, because she's just gone through another breakup, and he has the opportunity to possibly move for work. But if Maddie's interested in him, and he doesn't want to do that. So there's a lot going on in this book. I thought it was super fun, really easy, quick read, and yeah, I highly recommend. Next is The Summer of Yes by Courtney Walsh. I love the cover of this one. So this is a contemporary clean fiction read. In this book, we follow a successful businesswoman named Georgina Tate and a junior editor, Kelsey Worthington. They get put in the same hospital room after Kelsey has an accident and Georgina has a health scare. And Kelsey has looked up to Georgina as a businesswoman for a long time, so she's thrilled to be sharing a room with her. Georgina is a little bit on the grumpy side, and so she's not super thrilled to be having anyone in her room that she doesn't know to begin with. But Kelsey senses that she could have a lot to learn from Georgina, and so through a series of events, she ends up convincing Georgina to go on a road trip with her and have a summer of saying yes to things that they would both normally not say yes to. She thinks that Georgina has some regrets in life from working too hard and spending too much time, really all of her time and energy, on work, and Kelsey realizes that she doesn't want to end up that way. So there is a lot of humor in this book. I can't even count the amount of times that I've literally laughed out loud while reading it. And there is a love interest for both of these characters, so things get very interesting there. So I think it's just a great, if any of these books I would say you should read in the summer, this one I would maybe say would be best enjoyed that way. I was on a road trip when I was reading this book, and it just fit the vibes perfectly, but you really can read it anytime. All right, there you have it. Those were my top 7 books from this summer. I will leave each of them in the description below if you want to check them out. And let me know in the comments what your favorite books were this summer. I always like to hear what other people are enjoying. And if you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. And I hope you all have an amazing week. I'll see you later.